Hey, good morning, church family. This is the What I Wish I'd Said podcast for yesterday's message that I got to teach. Man, it feels like it's been forever since I taught in this series. And we were in Matthew chapter 7, verses 24 through 27. A lot of things that we talked about, the choices that we have to make. And the one thing I want to hammer home today is just how important obedience is. But, and this is important, right? I want you to start thinking about obedience as a response more than a requirement. It's easy to read, like even the verses that I shared yesterday about, I set before you life and death, now choose life. Jesus clearly talking about obedience in a lot of the parables that he shares in the Gospels. And in here, of course, we read that, the wise builder is the one who hears these words and then puts them into practice. It's a response, right? It's not a requirement. He's even verses, I think about a verse in John where he says, if you love me, you'll obey my commandments. I used to hear that like a requirement, like you better obey or you don't love me. But what he's saying is, because you love me, you will obey my commands. And so the thing to focus on isn't how do I try harder to do the right thing? It's how do I fall more and more in love with Jesus? Because that heart is what's going to prompt the response of obedience. As a point of reference, John chapter 13, verse 17, it's one of the verses that we quote a lot. Jesus is talking to his disciples. They're in the upper room, and he has just washed their feet. And he says to them, now that you know these things, you're blessed if you do them. So even in the response of obedience, there's a blessing that comes when we respond with obedience. I don't know how you are, but when I'm doing what I have to do, sometimes it doesn't feel like a blessing. But when I'm in love with someone, like when I'm serving Wendy, when I know that what I'm doing in the moment is going to cause her joy later, that gives me a blessing, right? A response of love is a blessing. A requirement of duty is not, right? So Jesus, it's important when he says, now that you know these things, what things is he talking about? Well, he's the Bible's just said in the first part of that chapter that he got up from the table because he knew who he was. He knew where he'd come from. He knew where he was going. So I think sometimes when we know those things inside, it puts us in a position to obey because we're not trying to earn something. We're not trying to prove something. We know who we are. Our identity is settled. And when your identity is settled, obedience is a whole lot easier. He also had just served them by washing their feet. And so I think Jesus is talking about a couple things. He's talking about knowing our identity, and then from that place of identity, knowing that we can serve people. We can serve one another. We don't have to be afraid of, if I serve you and you don't serve me, then I'm going to lose out. All the things that make us want to just keep what's ours. He says, when you know who you are, when you know that you're loved, from that place, you can begin to serve just like I've served you. And when you do, you'll find a blessing. And so the obedience part, what do we know now? What do you know from this series? What do you know to this point in the Sermon on the Mount? What are the things that have really stood out to you? I guess there's one or two takeaways that you're just like, man, God convicted you, or he highlighted it and said, this is what I want you to start to practice. Think of it like a coach with an athlete, where the athlete might have a million things that he or she needs to do to get better, but the coach knows if I tell them to work on all of those at one time, it's going to overwhelm them. So what the coach does, the good coach, pulls one of those out, two of those out, and says, for the next 2 weeks, we're going to focus on this. We're going to start to practice this. And then as we practice it and get better, we're going to add to that and see how that begins to build the foundation, the solid rock that can hold long-term transformation. So this week, pick one. Ask the Holy Spirit, what is it that you've highlighted to me? Is there a characteristic that you want to develop in my life, a quality? Is there something I've been focusing on that you want me to give less attention to so that I can give more attention to you? I know we're in a season of fasting right now. You can see there on the screen, we're like in the last 2 weeks before Encounter. Maybe he'd like you to give up a meal so that you can focus more attention on him and preparing your heart to be good soil to receive what he's going to do in an encounter. I don't know what it is for you, but would you take the time this week to ask him, and then simply, because you love Jesus, respond with obedience? Man, y'all have a great week. I'll see you Sunday.